So what if I told you that every single choice you made today, I mean, from what you grabbed for breakfast to the apps you're scrolling through right now, even the shows you binge watched last night, what if I told you all of that is actually economics in action?
It is absolutely true. Welcome to the explainer. And the really surprising part here, you've actually been practicing economics your entire life without even realizing it. So let's just dive right into this.
In this explainer, we're going to do a complete zoom out. We'll start with the everyday decisions you make in your own wallet and then scale that all the way up to the global stage. Here is our roadmap. First step, the everyday choice problem. Then, defining economics through 3 perspectives. After that, economics in real life, followed by scaling up to nations, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with our essential economic takeaways. All right, let's get right into part 1, the everyday choice problem. To really understand how this works, we need to establish the core dilemma that literally every single human being on Earth faces every single day.
Wait, economics? Because whenever I hear that word, I immediately just think about money, big banks, and, staring at super complicated graphs all day.
Right, and that is exactly what a lot of people think when they first encounter the subject. But just imagine this everyday scenario. You got just enough money in your account for either a ticket to see your absolute favorite band or a brand new, really high-quality pair of headphones. You really, really want both of them, but you can only afford one. So what do?
Oh man, that's tough. Honestly, I'd probably spend hours just stressing out trying to decide.
Exactly. Or let's just take money completely out of the equation. Say you only have 2 free hours tonight. Do you study for tomorrow's big test, or do you stream that new show everybody is talking about? You literally cannot do both at the same time. Every single day, we're dealing with limited resources. We have limited money, limited time, and limited energy. But here is the catch. While those resources are strictly limited, our wants, well, they seem completely endless. You've got this really high contrast between these 2 forces. On one side, you have your unlimited wants just piling up. On the other side, your limited time, money, and energy. That clash right there, that friction, that is the exact starting point of all economics. Which brings us to part 2, defining economics, 3 perspectives. Okay, so if I'm constantly trying to manage this clash between what I want and what I actually have, what are the formal rules of the game here? Like, how do the experts actually define what it is we're doing?
That is a great question. To understand the rules, let's look at 3 famous academic perspectives that honestly built the entire foundation of this field. We're going to start with a legendary economist named Alfred Marshall. He believed that economics is fundamentally about people, specifically how they earn and use wealth to improve their lives.
So, in his view, economics actually is mostly about money?
Partly, yes, but it's much more about what that money actually does for you. Think of a student who works a part-time job on the weekends. They earn a paycheck. Then they have to decide exactly how to spend it. Maybe they buy some textbooks. Maybe they save up for a faster laptop so they can code or study more efficiently. Or maybe they spend a little on going out with friends just to recharge. Marshall focused on how that wealth is earned and, more importantly, how it is strategically used to build a better life.
Now, let's look at another absolute giant in the field, Lionel Robbins. He gave one of the most famous definitions ever written. He said economics is the science of scarcity and choice.
Scarcity? Like when something is incredibly rare, like a diamond or something?
Not quite. In economics, scarcity just means there simply isn't enough of something to satisfy every single want. Let me give you a pretty relatable analogy. Imagine you're at this incredible all-you-can-eat buffet. There are 20 different, absolutely amazing desserts lined up. But realistically, your stomach only has room for maybe 2 before you start feeling sick.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a truly painful choice to make.
Right. Your wants, eating all 20 of those desserts, are basically unlimited, but your physical capacity is strictly limited. That is scarcity. Economics studies how you make that choice when your resources, in this case, literal stomach space, are limited. Every single time you choose one thing, you are inherently giving up something else. Finally, let's talk about Paul Samuelson. Now, Samuelson focused on a much bigger picture. He looked at how entire societies use their resources to produce goods and how they manage to improve their living standards over time.
Okay, that sounds a little bit more complex. Can you break that down for me?
For sure. Imagine a small historical farming town. At first, the people there are growing food using very simple hand tools. It's really hard work and it yields just enough for them to survive. But then they invent or maybe buy better machines like tractors. Suddenly, they're producing way more food using the exact same amount of land and the exact same amount of time. Because they produce more, people earn more money, the local businesses grow, and the overall living standard of the entire town goes up. Samuelson wanted economics to explain exactly that process, how societies become more productive and prosperous over time. That is economic growth. And this really brilliantly illustrates how all three of these ideas tie together. If we summarize them into one simple framework, it looks like this. Marshall is all about wealth, Robbins is all about scarcity and choice, and Samuelson is all about growth and development.
Wow. Okay. Seeing these three frameworks laid out side by side like this, it totally clicks. It's not just random disconnected theories. It's actually three different lenses to look at the exact same human behavior.
Let's move on to part 3, economics in real life.
Now that we have those core definitions down, let's take them out of the textbook entirely and see how they apply to your everyday financial situations. Imagine you receive $100 as your monthly pocket money. Now, you really want some new shoes, the latest video game, maybe some daily snacks, and you also know you probably should put a little bit into savings. But your $100 just isn't enough to do all of that at once. So what do? You prioritize. You allocate portions of that limited resource. That very act of budgeting right there is economics. Wait, so me agonizing over whether to buy an iced coffee or save up for a new jacket, that's actually me being an everyday economist? You got it. That is exactly what that is. Now, let's zoom out just a little bit to look at a family budget. Every single month, a household has expenses, right? There's rent or mortgage, groceries, electricity, the internet bill, transportation. The family really has to sit down and decide together how to allocate their income wisely across all of these different categories.
Right, because even a family's combined income still isn't unlimited.
Correct. Economics is the tool that helps households make those smart, balancing choices to ensure they're maximizing their overall well-being with exactly what they have.
Which takes us to part 4, scaling up to nations. Let's move all the way up to the macro level. Governments have massive budgets, yes, but those budgets are still fundamentally limited. They have to decide how much of their tax revenue to spend on education versus healthcare, or maybe building new roads versus funding public services. And while they're trying to make those incredibly tough choices, they're also dealing with massive moving targets like inflation, fluctuating fuel prices, and unemployment rates.
That's kind of crazy to think about. So an entire country basically faces the exact same problem as a student just trying to stretch their $100 of pocket money?
Precisely. It is a completely different scale, obviously, but it is the exact same underlying challenge. Limited resources pushing up against totally unlimited needs and wants.
And that brings us to part 5, essential economic takeaways.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really want to condense everything we've talked about into the absolute most crucial lessons. So, if you remember only 3 things from this entire session, make them these. Number 1, economics is simply the study of how people make choices when resources are limited. Number 2, every choice has a cost because choosing to do one thing means you are giving up the opportunity to do another. And number 3, economics happens everywhere, from the pocket money in your wallet to the budgeting of a household, all the way up to the massive decisions made by entire nations.
Honestly, seeing those 3 points laid out like that, it makes everyday decision-making feel so much simpler to understand. It's not this big, intimidating math problem. It's just the story of our lives.
Exactly. It's not just some dry school subject. It is literally the framework of your daily life. Well, if this explainer finally made economics click and actually make sense for you, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to Gusto for way more clear, simple explanations of economics, accounting, and business studies. Go ahead and share this explainer with a classmate who might be struggling to grasp these concepts too. And definitely leave us a comment down below. What part of economics still confuses you the most? Yeah, drop a comment because we really want to hear from you guys. And speaking of things that might be confusing, in our next explainer, we're going to explore what is arguably the single most important concept in all of economics, opportunity cost. We're going to answer the question, why does every single choice you make have a hidden cost? Why do businesses, governments, and individuals constantly face trade-offs? And most importantly, how can actually understanding your opportunity costs help you make much, much smarter decisions in your own life?
Trust me on this one. Once you understand opportunity cost, you will literally never look at decision-making the same way ever again.
Until next time, remember, learn with gusto because commerce is not boring, it is your life.